And back over in North America, Jayce was one of Darshan's most played champions, and I was expecting, CLG maybe to have some more variation in their team comps. They have been just putting him on tank after tank after tank. Maybe this is the time they do push him to damage, but as you said, very flexible pick. Huhi could play it as well.
All right, so we're anticipating potentially Darshan's hands, but no, the alternate is available. Where does Stivos and the rest of Albus Nox set their sights? We know Smurf had a great Poppy game. That's now been locked in, and Stivos will certainly be running the Graves in the jungle. So there's a lot of physical damage on the side of Albus Nox.
With a kind of non-ganking jungler there and a Poppy match up top, I think the Jayce does look pretty decent up top so far, but CLG should save their mid pick until they see the entire lineup of ANX before locking in mid. I think they need to save that flexibility at the moment and lock in their duo lane bottom.
And I think they can still pick a pretty versatile bot lane here. They had a lot of success with the Ezreal in their first game, and you wonder if they're going to go with the Bard, the Alistar, the Nami. What type of lane do they want? Do they want hard initiation from Alistar, or do they want a little bit more sustain in the lane and a little bit more safety with the Nami?
Especially if they want to keep the probability or the possibility of this Jayce top alive, I think a bottom lane, semi-tank support, a melee support for Aphromoo would be huge, but they're not going to do it. So Karma locked in, and again, we add more flexibility because they could still, have Huhi play Karma mid and lock in a melee support for tank.
That's exactly it. They could have a wicked poke comps right here, but then they're still going to have to make sure they can't get hard initiated on by Albus Nox Luna. Albus Nox, while they have a lot of physical damage, doesn't have much hard initiation. The question will be whether they can find it with these next two picks.
Tom Kench is available for Likkrit if he wants to deliver a Poppy to the back line, if a teleport ward isn't available. What else are options here for Albus Nox? Because they're looking for their two, mid laner and support.
I think they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place right here, because if it is a poke comp, they're going to want hard initiation with something like an Alistar. But then if you try and play Alistar Sivir against a Lucian Karma lane, you're going to get wrecked in that regard. So they have to find a way to not get completely smashed in lane while still having an answer to a poke composition, which is difficult.
And that question seems to be some heal and some zoning from Bard, as well as wave clear from Viktor.
And Bard can definitely do that, because if you have a good Tempered Fate, then a Sivir speed boosted Poppy can get into position where you can angle yourself against the wall when they're going to come out for it. Now, saying that theoretically is all good and well. However, it's very hard to actually pull off in-game. There's a high technical level that you need there, and the Bard from Likkrit actually was fairly lackluster as far as the Tempered Fates went, and this is going to require a high level of execution from them.
Yeah, I still think, though, based on the situation, those are exactly the right picks. Maybe you could have seen the Nivea to aid the initiation a little bit, because they could have had the Poppy Nivea once again.
Well, it's banned out, so
the Viktor's still pretty good. Yep. That's the way it works. Makes them the right picks, as I was saying.
All right, so CLG, how do they decide to lock this in? If we anticipate Karma Lucian bottom?
Well, I would really love to see Aphromoo on a playmaker, because, that was one of the biggest things for me for CLG in their huge victory, was not only the roaming of Huhi, but also Aphromoo on the Alistar. He had 100% kill participation pre-15 minutes, but they're going with him on the Nami, and this is going to be, talk about, level of execution. This is a very flimsy team, and you need to land your skill shots, you need to land your poke, and have to be ready for the disengage. Yeah, that being said, they do have speed and heals from both Karma and Nami to do that. Definitely going to be worried about that lack of front line, though.
It does attack the duo lane a little bit. They already have the Nami buffing up the Lucian, and mid lane Karma does make Stixxay very difficult to kill. And if he does fall down, they still have a very high DPS guy who can benefit from shields in Jayce as well. So those are the synergies CLG is working around. But like you say, it's a flimsy composition.
Very offensive here from CLG, and I think it's a good point you mentioned. It does require them, using that offense fairly early. And I'm going to have to watch Xmithie, because a lot of these lanes for CLG are going to want to bully early on to try and snowball that, and then they can transition into sieging and getting their poke going. But Xmithie on the Elise is going to have to protect that aggression.
And he'll have to change up what he's done from week 1 to week 2, because last week Xmithie was hanging around Stixxay a lot more than anybody else. You guys can see the team comps on your screen. You know what to do. Jump onto Twitter and cheer for hashtag ANX win or hashtag CLG win, and let us know who's going to be tying up with the Rocks Tigers for sole control of first place till later in the day. Called it. It's the sixth man in San Francisco. They are behind the North American squad of CLG.
Definitely support for CLG, and we have to mention still how tight this group is at the top. With G2 losing another game, nothing has really been solved yet. There's still a chance for a three-way tie at 4-2.
Yeah, these teams are tied right now, and Albus Nox Luna have acquired a lot of international fans recently. They are poised to be the most successful wildcard team ever. If they win just one more game this week, they will have the most wins that we've ever seen from a wildcard team.
And if they own the head-to-head over CLG, that could be what decides it. Huhi sniffed it out. Oh, the tension.
You are the most tense one up here right now.
To be fair, Kobe, QuickShot and I cast both of the first victory wins for the wildcard teams. We saw INTZ beat EDG, and the first time ANX was victorious. So QuickShot's ready for stuff to happen.
I am, and you know, I was getting to the point we touched on earlier. Having a 2-0 head-to-head when you're that hotly contested at the top of the table could determine whether or not ANX advance. Darshan, no real threat here. He's going to back away.
Gets a really quality ward in, though, to scout out the jungle start from Stixxay.
It actually is very important because, as we said, Xmithie on the Elise, level 3, full kit, ready to create pressure anywhere on the map, especially with these bullying lanes. Whereas Graves generally wants to farm a lot more early on. And if Xmithie doesn't make the same mistake that Peanut made when they were playing Albus Nox in the same matchup, you know, face check the Graves and then fight him in the jungle, then he should be able to try and control the map for the early stages.
Yeah, and they get to see Stixxay right at the start here. I think moves like that speak to a CLG mindset where they're always going to try and take an advantage when it's there. I think from a macro perspective, a lot of times when people would play against wildcard teams in the past, they would almost play overly passive because there was this expectation that the way you would lose is you kind of get cheesed and you want to just make sure you neutralize the game because you're better than them. That's no longer the way teams can look at Albus Nox Luna. So when CLG see 3 people on Albus Nox at the bottom side of the map at level 1, Darshan immediately goes in to get the next ward, even though it's a slightly risky play, because that's what they need to do to advance their victory. So I expect a more aggressive CLG this game than the first time they played.
Definitely true. You see Stixxay miss a CS down bottom and then go back up to the top side. The way that Darshan would want to play that matchup, meanwhile, never mind, down bottom here, the bullying. They actually want to play it in a similar fashion. The Jayce wants to abuse his range, get into the bush so that you drop aggro from the range minions. Bottom lane doing the same. Darshan going aggressive here.
Goes into hammer form to the skies, drops down the charge.
So Stixxay is actually going for an early Graves gank, which you don't expect at all, and for good reason. You see there, he doesn't have any CC to bring to the table. You know, Kira is on Viktor. There's no way they're setting up, you know, any sort of meaningful play onto Huhi, and all he really did there was reveal himself. Yeah. That's one of those things where you give away a little bit of unnecessary information as a jungler, and you can only do that so many times before Xmithie really is able to punish you. Honestly, though, you know, Xmithie had also skipped his red, and there was a slight opportunity there for ANX to punish, but you wouldn't really expect that to be there, so.
aMiracle and Likkrit really fighting for CS down bottom. 8-17. Yes, there is a big wave in front of aMiracle. They can't afford to give up too many. Is constantly being pushed by Stixxay and Aphro. And now is underneath the tower as well. Aphromoo and Stixxay are going to get some chip damage. First of the towers for now.
Yeah, and they're going to have to be relatively careful when they're pushing up that lane, but with that being said, Graves' gank isn't the most lethal one unless Bard can land Dream Stuns on them.
Ooh, a little bit of a stun, but no mana to follow up.
And remember, this does bring me back to Champion Select, where I talk about the way this Jayce matchup wants to play against Poppy, bully him out.
Dive. Stixxay is here, though.
That's risky!
This is a pin into the wall. Xmithie's in trouble. He flashes away with his life, lands a good defensive cocoon, but blows his own summoner spell on a dive.
In that, the only positive there for CLG is that they did deny a couple of CS, because if Smurf was able to CS kind of freely there, he would have caught right back up to even against Darshan. And now, you know, Darshan is kind of milking this very slight CS lead that he does have against him, but he's lost control of the wave, and he might have to teleport back to the lane.
Yeah, and I think it was great instincts from Stixxay. CLG's lucky to get out of that one alive. All of it was pretty much fog of war as far as the approach on those ganks. So Xmithie was hoping that Stixxay wasn't there, but he really didn't know.
And that's exactly how you want to play the Graves matchup. You know, get the counter ganks and the farm advantage. Stixxay intelligently immediately moves over to CLG territory. We saw him there on the screen stealing away the Raptors. Even though he got a ward over, nothing he can do. He's out of mana. And Grave takes his small tax for that overextension.
And already before 5 minutes, Xmithie has attempted a tower dive in the top lane, in Darshan's lane, when Darshan's running his first sort of carry champion of Worlds 2016. 2 Poppy games and a Gnar under his belt. The team style that we saw for CLG from week 1 to week 2 is now very different in this pick and ban, and there's a lot more reliance on Darshan to show up.
Yeah, CLG definitely pivot their strategy a little bit, not having Huhi on something like Syndra, who they're trying to dominate the lane with. This is very much a side lane focused CLG team. They're expecting to win with the Lucian and Nami without jungle assistance, and if they get Darshan assistance in the top lane, that's their plan to have 2 of 3 winning lanes with a high gold support in the mid lane, is what CLG would want to have.
Seems to be the case for now. Plus 8 CS, Stixxay and Aphro again shoving in aMiracle. aMiracle and Likkrit having a very difficult time. And for Likkrit, he's going to step up with those tempered fates.
Stixxay is missing quite a bit of CS that are just sort of sitting there, right? And not really picking up the gold that's on the ground, though. So not punishing as heavily as they possibly could if you're expecting, you know, perfect play. All right, up here on stage, which is rarely the case. Xmithie, though, getting that deep vision down for the bottom side as well. You talk about protecting those side lanes, allowing them to play up and play aggressive. That is one of the key moments there, as Xmithie does get some of that deep vision. They can track PvPStejos.
Currently at the Grom, up in the top half of the map. Both Darshan and Smurf, they backed away. They've used their teleport to lane. Recalled again, picked up a few more items, still even on CS. Really across the board, small advantage for Stejos versus small advantage for Stixxay. But nothing to write home about and nothing super chaotic in this early game yet. So this is pretty good for CLG because their team comp will come alive in the next sort of 10 or so minutes.
And there's a chance we see a really low kill game throughout the mid game and maybe even towards the late game just because of the complete lack of hard initiation on CLG and the fact that Albus Nox is going to be struggling to initiate on CLG as well. As far as the farming goes, it's really all about trying to keep pace if you're Albus Nox right now.
Definitely true. And since people haven't seen, you know, a tremendous amount of poke comps or a tremendous amount of siege comps recently, Stixxay gets a hit there with the binding. We are going to see this game really start to unfold when we transition in the next few minutes afterwards towards killing the turrets. You know, after one of these lanes that CLG have that are pushing starts to whittle down the turret, then they can start to, you know, bring in the extra range champions, group up, go for the siege, and you try and snowball the outer turret lead. That's where you really build momentum in these matchups. Meanwhile, as you mentioned for ANX, they want those flanks from Smurf and the tempered fates to hit from Likkrit.
Confidence then for Albus Nox. They have to find those abilities, find those opportunities, and they'll start with some visions. Oh, flash away from Aphro. Didn't quite see how that one built up. Can only imagine it was a stun. Smurfs is looking for a fight into Darshan. Actually going to come away way worse for wear. Picks up the buckler. It's action all over the map. Huhi's running away from the Chaos Storm. The Death Ray won't kill him though. Flashes up and available. And looking at it, summoner spells, only Aphro's was used.
Yeah, and CLG seems like they're trying to apply a lot of pressure, but Albus Nox is fighting back in a pretty big way. CLG has the map position, but they don't have the health bars. They're just getting hit as they're walking in, and it's hard to gain an advantage that way.
Aphro definitely has to play very careful now. He's squishy on Nami. Stixxay, though, dealing a lot with that culling.
Here's Stejos. Where's the tempered fate? He's caught himself.
He has no flash either.
Aphromoos the target. No flash. Too early on the light binding. End of the line. And Likkrit takes down Aphro.
Great punish there from ANX, and with all the pressure on for Likkrit, he lands the tempered fate. There's the playmaking. They're able to find that first blood.
Total over-aggression from CLG. Aphromoo stayed up there without flash. He did have the ability to dodge the Bard ultimate. And then Xmithie also wasn't there in case of a 3v3. You'd expect them to only stay pushed up if they have the Elise. But they had the wave in a spot. They thought they'd be getting the harass. I think they were trying to make sure they shoved it in so they could bounce it. And that's exactly when Albus Nox arrives. Great instincts.
Cutting down Aphro. There we go, playing around Likkrit. Stejos comes in, waits for the spells to land. It does, and that was a lane that CLG was winning. Now they're behind.
And it's the second time Stejos has been to a wave at exactly the right time. So much of jungling isn't just about pathing, it's about understanding where your team's minion waves are and lending support at exactly the right moment. He stuffed the gank in the top lane, nearly got first blood then. Waits until CLG is greeting a minion wave into the turret, gets the first kill. What the heck?
And
he wants that wave of minions. He just committed the teleport. He could have canceled it, obviously, and then just decided to walk, but commits his flash as well for that wave of minions.
So, Likkrit to Stixxay, if they decide to roam up and punish Huhi without flash, that could be a way for Albus Nox to get another kill on the board.
That's the thing, you know, Jatt just talked about, you know, informing your jungler of the minion waves, but also informing them that Aphromoo had just had his flash blown, and in a lane with a Bard, you have to respect the ultimate.
Didn't happen, and that meant Aphro went down. Kira takes a big chunk of damage, despite Huhi sort of teleporting in and wasting his flash.
Ooh.
Look at the control now.
Be careful about running into Fog of War, though. Chasing into an Elise.
Oh, yeah, but Huhi's going without Elise.
Oh,
he misses. Huhi's down. Stixxay is looking for more. Likkrit's joined the fight. Tempered Fate's up in a second, but Xmithie's hugging the tower. Light Binding goes wide. And Albus Nox 2-0 in kills.
Yeah, we mentioned in Champ Select too, CLG is going to have to land their skill shots, but they also have to have numbers advantages if they're going to go for play.
Yeah, Huhi just runs straight into the lane rather than trying to run to the jungler and run away, and they give up another kill. This is Albus Nox Luna taking a big early advantage. Even though they see the Bard coming, that was very risky and punished Prairie Click very quickly there.
Yeah. And when you see the Bard coming, you have to make the quick pivot. Monitoring the Q on Huhi instead of monitoring one of his defensive abilities and making the retreat.
Yeah.
Cost him his life.
Definitely have to go full defensive in that scenario, because that Likkrit roam actually up from bottom was very, very important there. Landed the last Tempered Fate on a flashless target.
Another flash for targets still available. Moby Boots for Likkrit. Got Tempered Fate available as well. Albus Nox 1,000 gold up at 11 minutes 50, and you hear this time and time again. If a poke comp falls behind, it's cataclysmically difficult to come back into the game.
And remember, both of those small advantages were earned in lane first. You know, by the duo lane down bottom, blowing Aphramoo's flash. And then in the mid lane with Huhi continuing to channel his teleport and then flashing so he could grab the minions.
There's one thing that is working for CLG. Stixxay still farming up a storm.
Yeah.
What's that? Plus 25 CS, if math is okay. Likkrit's looking for something, but Stixxay dashes away.
Yeah, but with that being said, Likkrit, first on the roam, oftentimes in this lane. They were able to punish Aphromoo for being pushed up so far. And CLG doesn't have a huge amount of playmaking opportunities. So really, Albus Nox should continue to farm, and Stixxay is just really arriving at the right time to all these waves.
Oh, Stixxay, he gets exhausted. Good boomerang. Stixxay's running for his life. Tempered Fate. Look for the targets. A hit. Stixxay's down. aMiracle and Likkrit take them out. Afro's the target. He goes golden. Likkrit's not going to find the stun this time round. Flash for flash. Teleport came down from Darshan. He's coming in from the river. Afro's looking to chase. The tidal wave's thrown out, but Kira's going to look to interrupt. Now there's a 3-on-3. Likkrit, it helps the race of the dragon. Not going to work out. Darshan's pinned against the wall. No teleport for Smurf. It's not available. They've traded 1-for-1. Darshan's down. Kira will go shortly. They end up trading a 1-for-2 in favor of CLG.
Very, very chaotic scattering down there around bottom. But remember, once again, it started out with some over-aggression from CLG's bottom lane. Stixxay getting caught by the Cosmic Binding before the flash. So once that tags him, it registers the wall behind him already, and he's still stunned when he goes over. Right there. Once it tags, you're stunned. Immediately follow up there.
On the dash there and flash from Stixxay, and they were trying so hard to push this advantage. They end up trading 2-for-2 after the teleport gets used in.
Right. The ANX bottom lane, they see the teleport in the bush, so they immediately go for the magical journey up towards the river to their mid laner. And Darshan has to go really deep there. He actually traded his flash for that as well. Kira going to be able to get the exchange kill on the way out with Viktor, and CLG do clean it up. But this game going very rough for them in the early stages.
And I want to give us some praise to how quick Likkrit and aMiracle were to flash away and then jump in that magical journey. They knew the threat of Darshan, tried to get out alive, but CLG straight up outplayed them. So even Stevens, Xmithie's in trouble, repels up, tries to get away. Kira didn't have his Chaos Storm, otherwise that would have been a squash spider. Instead has to back away.
Yeah, and CLG still trying to push into Albus Nox and getting repeatedly punished.
Not stolen. Kira gets a good attempt though.
Yeah, very good attempt, but the patience to pull it into the brush, wait for the burst to hit from CLG, and then secure, knowing that CLG was going to be taking blind shots in with very high damage abilities. They welcomed the assistance on the blue buff kill.
There we go. Welcome the assistance. Gentle love tap.
And this bottom lane is actually incredibly close in gold, despite how much the CS difference would say otherwise, because of the kills that they've been able to get on this team. Dashing in over the back, they're going to get an Ocean Drake too, which will only assist their laning phase and is great to have against a poke comp.
No contest at all from CLG. aMiracle and Likkrit, they cut off the route for the bottom lane. Take a glimpse mid. No, going to cut top instead as Darshan's being bullied. Support's coming in from Xmithie and Smurf, I think he's sticking around way too long. Flashes up, and the keeper's verdict. Cocoon in his face, this should come down. No, baited it out. Spidey senses tingling.
Yeah, Smurf definitely does. Ooh, actually, Aphromoo caught.
And he did. Oh, very good bubble. Doesn't matter though. 2-1-1.
And what's Likkrit doing taking that kill? He was dead to rights without a flash, and Stejos just had to come out of the stasis, but nope. 2-1-1 on the crit.
He is a support carry, remember? Stejos looking for more no-tempered fate. End of the line bounces. Stixxay's being run down by Stejos on that red buff. This might even be tower first blood, in fact. Catch a quick glimpse. Chaos Storm chasing Huhi away. And Stejos and Likkrit pulling that minion wave backwards to allow aMiracle to push up and extend this gold lead even further. It's 1,500 and 2 towers under pressure.
Yeah, this does get risky for CLG as they want to defend this turret, but they just don't have the manpower. They're calling down Xmithie to try and even the numbers, but it's so late here. Turret extremely low.
Turret's not going to fall though. Stejos takes a lot of damage and he's forced away. While that's happening, Albus Nox are winning every single lane. Kira's in trouble by Huhi, and Huhi's going to continue to push him away. Get those mantra Qs over and over. But as it stands, the CIS are going toe-to-toe with the North American LCS for the second time.
And this game could get out of hand pretty quickly if they're able to get the bot, mid, and top lane turrets in quick succession. They have the Ocean Drake to enhance their laning phase. First turret blood up to Smurf. This is very impressive by Albus Nox.
For the third time in 4 games, Albus Nox have secured first blood, first tower, and first dragon.
And here's the thing, we can talk about, hey, they surprised people with Brandon and Ivia, or they snuck Baron, but this is as conventional as they come. Their team composition is full of meta picks, and they're just winning lanes and timing their ganks properly. If they win this, at least the first 17 minutes of this has been the most impressive game Albus Nox has played yet at Worlds.
Great punishes over and over on the CLG aggression from Albus Nox Luna. They are making them pay for trying to have these winning lanes.
I have to go all the way back to pick some bans. CLG opted into the strategy. The games that CLG won last week was the tank up top. It was in our pregame. The style that CLG was playing. This is not that style, and it's put them in a 2,000 goal deficit as we're approaching 20 minutes.
Vision is going to be incredibly important as we move towards the mid game. With all the towers falling for CLG, that opens up more space for Smurf to get into the fog of war, go for a flank, for these Bard Temper Fates to pick people off. CLG are losing a lot of defenses with the extra gold they're giving away as the turrets start to go down.
They are falling relatively quickly. Darshan, Smurf trading back and forth. That hammer form from Darshan, doing a bit of damage to Smurf. And again, action, multiple lanes at the same time. Kira's going to sidestep, puts a Chaos Storm. Huhi's running to support Kira. He might chase, but there's a good ping ward in the river bush, and he's going to back away. Looking at the minimap, the crit's coming up. They could look for a target, but no Chaos Storm, so not likely just yet.
Yeah, still just solid mid lane pressure from Kira. He pushes Huhi in a little bit, gets the wave to the turret, also draws a jungler up, and yes, it costs his ultimate in his Ghost, but he still has Flash, and the pressure can continue for Albus Nox as far as the mid lane and the bottom lane pushes are concerned.
Very deep wards in the red buff jungle of Counter Logic Gaming. Pink and invisible ward from Albus Nox. That's one avenue for Smurf to get in from behind. And they're going to start themselves off Rift Herald just before it goes down. Not a huge amount of priority on the Rift Herald here at Worlds.
Yeah, this is only the 5th Rift Herald we've seen in now our 26th game, but that's going to be huge for Smurf out top against Darshan.
Exactly, because he wants to try and split up on the opposite side and then just make CLG worry about wards that are behind them. When CLG group up and they try and take advantage of their synergies, going for the poke and the siege at turrets, they're going to have to always worry about clearing wards behind them, having pink wards on their flanks, because this Poppy, especially with Rift Herald, is going to be off on the side and is going to be a threat to come in.
All right, Huhi's used his teleport. No threat from that one for now. We've just hit 20 minutes. Ardent Sensor picked up. He's still defending that mid lane tower. Xmithie think he smited that one away.
Yeah, he got the big one, but the small ones all go over to Graves there.
Stixxay will be happy with that trade. Looking at CS numbers, Stixxay continues to accelerate ahead, approaching 40 CS, but that's just going to counterbalance the tower and kill and assist gold that aMiracle's got.
Exactly, and if CLG wants to win this game, Stixxay is going to have to get a lot of the kills just because so much of their team composition is channeled towards making Stixxay more powerful. Huhi has gone the ultimate support karma. Ardent Censer, Athene's Unholy Grail, to the Ghostblade Stixxay. He really needs to pick up some kills if they want to have any chance in these team fights. And I'm even going to hazard to say, they'd also have to pick off Kira, because Kira is going to kill Stixxay at this point of the game with the items he has. So really, CLG need a lot to go right to come back in this.
And that was the expectation of the team comp. You know, flimsy, no real front line. Need to get some of that poke down. aMiracle down, but aMiracle's got a bunch of those caretaker shrines, and that's allowed him to top off his HP.
And once again, Stixxay is on the bottom side of the map where they're expecting the extra pressure to come from. As CLG pushes up, they bring Xmithie in.
Cocoon connects, but no one to follow up. Xmithie just looking to help pressure this bottom lane. Now Stixxay is coming to party, moving through the jungle, and it's a Cloud Drake next. This could benefit both teams to help counter their opponent's team composition strengths. But no real safe opportunity to take it yet.
Yeah, and CLG with the 3,000 gold deficit and the Rylai's Crystal Scepter being completed on Kira, not to mention the Iceborne Gauntlet on Smurf. The item breakpoints are so heavily in the favor of Albus Nox right now. They're actually going for a play mid.
Well, not going to work out. Huhi's going to be able to accelerate away. We jump up top. Smurf, he's looking to challenge. He's gone toe-to-toe. There's a minion line, though. Smurf is going to taxi away. Darshan's looking for a shot boss. We jump back to the river. Tidal wave's been used. Aphro and Stixxay running. Look at the death ray. Likkrit the back line. Collateral damage takes out Stixxay. Kira's not done. Siphon power, sidestep Cocoon. He eats a volatile Spiderling, but that won't matter. Stixxay looking for more. Flash for flash, but that's good because it's mid for support. Likkrit's the target. That's going to help Huhi HP-wise, but that's another kill to Albus Nox.
ANX are actually tearing CLG apart right now. Victories across the map. They're going to get another objective in the Drake. They also get another one of those outer turrets to fall, like we talked about, opening up more of the map for them. They are setting themselves up very well to take this. That flash from Kira to land the laser gets the Rylai slow, and even after Stixxay flashes, Stixxay covers the ground.
Yeah, the ultimate there from Stixxay is just the icing on the cake when they know who they have to kill as well. It's so obvious with this CLG composition, and Albus Nox is surgical in the way they're doing this to CLG, actually. It definitely feels like everyone on CLG is playing like they have to carry the game. You look at the way Darshan is trading in the top lane, burning a flash in a 1v1 when he doesn't even really have a chance to kill, or Stixxay and Aphromoo losing Stixxay because they're sticking around with 25% health in the lane. All of these things are backfiring, and Albus Nox is the team that's playing cool, that's playing the proper way right now.
All right, there's the exchange where Xmithie bit off way too much, and here you can see the slow lands. So Stixxay fires the ultimate, still explodes because it hit the max range there, and it explodes in a giant cone. So the edge of the cone did tag Stixxay, even though he flashed further. Finds the kill.
Well, goal deficit is gigantic. 5,000. Albus Nox Luna came into this game saying that they have the ability to play macro. They have the individual ability, mechanically, to match everybody in their group so far. And they might tie their record with the Rocks Tigers at the top of the group.
Yep, they catch Huhi.
It's out, pin onto Aphromoo. Aphro's down. Huhi gets knocked up into the air. He's exhausted. Albus Nox have comboed everything perfectly. Likkrit gets another. They take another tower, and now Xmithie's the target. Chaos Storm's gonna run him down. Xmithie, he's pinned. Albus Nox, 9 kills to 2, and they're peeling back for Baron.
And there's such clean plays by Albus Nox Luna. Huhi's sitting at the turret. They're Bard ulting. They're killing Aphromoo while they have Huhi caught in stasis, and they turn immediately onto Baron. They're going to get another pre-25-minute Baron, but it's not going to be because they have to sneak it unless Darshan can somehow pull off aMiracle.
Shock Blast, Acceleration Gate, that's what Darshan needs to do. There's a couple of abilities over the wall. Albus Nox, they've got vision. Smurf Not gonna go just yet. They've
Smurf might just
stopped the
kill.
Baron. Gonna look to burst it. Blocked off. Not gonna work out. Baron to Albus Nox at 25 minutes.
Just straight up steamrolling CLG this game. They are so far ahead now. The Baron opens up their extra sieging from them. They can break tier 2s now.
This is so impressive from Albus Nox right now. And yes, it definitely feels like CLG is not playing with the knowledge of their giant deficit. They should be defending this turret. They didn't have the proper vision control, and Albus Nox rotated 5 people here, and CLG wasn't even close. Then CLG kind of meanders in. Like, what is Xmithie really hoping to accomplish against 5 people, taking the short way around and then flashing over the wall? Yes, Albus Nox is absolutely crushing them, but CLG is walking into them over and over again.
And then falling and dying and giving up everything to Albus Nox.
This could be a historic win for the LCL. Albus Nox put themselves into a very good position to get out of the groups if they can take this victory.
Exactly, because remember, this game would give them a 2-0 lead over CLG. There is still the possibility of a 3-way tie in 4-2, but that would require, assuming if CLG is to lose this game, that would require CLG to beat Rox and also G2. It would also require everyone to beat G2 because they'd have to stay at 0-6. If any of the other things happen, Albus Nox would be able to at least get a tiebreaker with the 3rd win. TLDR, they're in a fantastic position if they win this game.
They will have secured more wins at a World Championship than any wildcard team before. Last year, Pain picked up 2. Albus Nox look to go 3 wins, 1 loss. Only Rox Tigers able to take them down here in Group A. Cocoon onto Stixxay is good, but very big shield from the Locket. Kira gets rooted down. No, he forces to flash. Tower's gonna fall on the first attempt. CLG unable to do anything. Big chunk of damage onto aMiracle as Huhi's gonna sidestep the gravity field. Next target's the inhibitor. And Albus Nox gonna back away because Smurf is pushing the top lane and the rest of the team's peeling for mid.
Yeah, and CLG just has such pathetic damage at this stage of the game. They had to get Last Whisper as a 2nd item on Darshan Jayce. They have a fully supportive Karma, and they're also 10,000 gold behind. So really, Albus Nox is just running in circles right now. Bard ultimate lands, they go in.
Tempered Fate catches Aphromoo. They're going to take him down. Turn the attention over to the tower. Chaos Storm is ripping through Counter Logic Gaming. And Albus Nox, they've turned their attention onto the inhibitor turret. Looking at the objective, trying to put pressure down. No one from CLG can defend. And it's pressure on multiple lanes. Albus Nox open up the base. Another tower down. An inhibitor falls. And Albus Nox, they're going to take even more. The top lane's falling. The rest of CLG, they're looking to get one back. Kira's the target. CLG still haven't killed him. Likkrit's going to sidestep the bubble. Aqua Prison not going to lock him down. Darshan flashes forward. Keeper's Verdict will slow down the rest of the engage. 2 inhibitors for only Likkrit.
2 inhibitors and 13,000 gold ahead at 28 minutes for ANX. They have absolutely destroyed CLG here.
It's a slaughter, and they're getting poke onto Stixxay at the start of every fight, which is preventing the one true damage dealer CLG have right now from participating. They poke everyone down incredibly low and just take 2 turrets at once.
Whew. It is definitely going to be a miracle if CLG can come back from this one. They have been able to pull off miracles before, but they also do not have a good team fighting composition with nobody really able to play that front line. So it would have to also come from an unforced error from ANX that CLG would be able to punish.
Well, I don't think it's likely. Albus Nox have shown so much class across the 4 games here at Worlds. Huhi's gonna root Smurf down, does literally no damage. Smurf's buckler blocks everything.
Definitely.
The Athene's Ardent Sensor, not the damage-dealing Karma builds.
Yeah, and that allows Smurf to go Thornmail Ninja Tabi. They're not going to be able to do damage to him because they don't have a true mage right now with that supportive build, and there's stacked AD everywhere else.
Stixxay eats a cocoon. Culling comes up, but Stixxay's running low.
3 men.
It's Albus Nox Luna with aMiracle, and he's looking for more. Smurf gets a kill. CLG are rooted. They're running for their lives. The 3rd inhibitor of the game is falling, and Albus Nox Luna now have super minions. They've set their targets on the Nexus turrets, and I don't think CLG can defend this one. Albus Nox from the CIS, from the LCL, they are doing what no wildcard team has done before. Albus Nox Luna have got one giant foot in the door to Chicago on the way to the quarterfinals.
And this was their most impressive win by a wide margin. This was a 30-minute stomp of CLG.
A historic victory here for Albus Nox. Very, very impressive. Standard composition, punishing mistakes over and over.
Yeah, we talked about the things the teams would do to adapt to Albus Nox. Block their brand, block the Anivia, don't let them sneak Baron. CLG did those things, but they didn't even come close to preventing them from winning this game.
That's fantastic sportsmanship there as Likkrit and aMiracle give Aphromoo a hug. Ladies and gentlemen, in Group A, tied for first place with the Rocks Tigers is Albus Nox Luna at 3 wins and 1 loss.
And the crowd respectfully giving them some applause after that win over the team that is the hometown favorites in CLG. It's going to be, it makes this group so crazy.
We've just watched history be made. For the first time, a team from what was called a wildcard region, I think we need to get rid of that name because INTZ are stepping up. They're showing the world they took down EDG. Albus Nox took down the number 2 seed from North America, the number 1 seed from Europe.
They are legit.
Convincingly.
If they want to win the group, they'd have to take down the Rocks Tigers, right? And you look back to the first 13 minutes of their very first game, they were in a position where they would have been able to do those things. Now that I feel like they've really calmed down as far as the way they're playing.
Exactly. I mean, Wildcard was apt when they're pulling out brand support and Anivia Poppy surprise, but this was so standard. Like, you don't get much more standard there, and all they did was right by the books. You punish the aggression, coming in with, you know, good jungle support, and they just ran straight through CLG this game. There was no point where you really felt like CLG, you know, had a big leg up. Yes, the bottom lane is playing aggressively and punishing, but
then Aphro dies.
Exactly. They weather the storm very well, and they punished multiple times.
So now what does this mean for CLG? Because they don't leave the stage, right? They don't pack up. We play all Group A games today. CLG have 10, 15 minutes to prepare for G2, and there's 0-2. Now, of course, in order for CLG to win, they have to take down both Rocks and G2 to set up some sort of shenanigans here, because the tiebreaker is not in their favor against this team.
Yep, all wins are must-win now for CLG. And actually, if you look at the CLG Rocks matchup, if CLG win that game, then they would have tiebreaker over Rocks, actually.
Yes.
And you're looking at the possibilities of ANX and CLG getting out. The tournament favorites not getting out of groups is unheard of.
Yeah, there's definitely lots that can still happen in this group. Yes, it could be decided a little bit early, depending on if G2 want to EUNA and just make sure no one makes it out of the group from either of those regions, because that's what G2 has the potential to do here. They can dictate a lot of this as well, but it's going to be really hard for CLG to recover in a short time frame and get ready for their next game.
Well, that's what they have to do. They are backstage. Before we find out how they recover, we're going to head on stage to talk to Shox as well as Albus Nox Luna's